Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Iran defies West with plans to build 4 new nuclear reactors.
What happened on Bloody Sunday was both...
Cameron apologizes for Bloody Sunday killings. And Israel delays Gaza embargo decision. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said that the Iranian nation will make those who issued the international sanctions on Tehran regret their decision.
Ahmadinejad warned that his nation will respond to any action by any country trying to harm Iran under the pretext of implementing UN sanctions. Our correspondent in Iran, Mohammed Hassan al-Bahrani, has the details in the following report.
A week after the international sanctions decision was issued against Tehran, the nature of the Iranian response has started to crystallize. In a speech before the residents of the province of Chahar Mahal and Bakhtiari, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad warned the West and the US administration. Ahmadinejad gave the US a choice to either deal with his country in a polite and respectful way or get ready for a showdown if it decides to harm Tehran.
We will soon announce our conditions for the resumption of talks. First, they must talk to us in a polite and respectful way. Our nation will make you regret your latest decision. We hereby warn any country, anywhere in the world, that if it tries to harm the Iranian nation under the pretext of implementing the sanctions, we will respond accordingly and forcefully.
While Ahmadinejad stopped short of announcing any target area, his parliament speaker was more specific.
I'm warning the United States and some of its allies that in case they do inspect the cargo of our ships and planes, we will inspect their ships in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman.
Iranian parliamentary sources announced that members of the Shura Council are expected to vote in the final draft resolution in the coming weeks, calling on the government to implement the necessary measures aimed at preserving what they referred to as Iran's nuclear achievements.
The government is committed to continuing uranium enrichment, as well as producing nuclear centrifuges necessary for operating the Tehran reactor, which is used for medical purposes. It is also committed to preventing the activities of the IAEA inspectors if they make mistakes in the future.
According to documented information, Iran has actually started to take the required precautionary measures to counter all future possibilities. Attack is the best form of defense, a strategy that the Iranians have been trying to implement for years in their dealing with the nuclear program. And without it, Iranian policymakers believe that the nuclear program will not achieve its intended goals. Mohammed Hassan al-Bahrani, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
As
the Iranian internal crisis enters its second year, Iran has witnessed an unprecedented development. This comes after a series of attacks were launched on the High Religious Council in Qom and against reformist leader Mehdi Karroubi. In an unprecedented move, prominent Sunni leader Mawlawi Abdel Hamid launched an initiative aimed at resolving the internal Iranian crisis.
Following every major sweep by Iranian authorities, a wave of public protests is launched in Tehran. These protests are often organized by the detainees' families outside Evin prison, which the late Imam Khomeini wanted to turn into a university for the rehabilitation of prisoners in the aftermath of the toppling of the Shah's regime. The families of the detainees, who were arrested last Saturday in a protest on the anniversary of the elections, held a rally calling for the release of all prisoners. They held a large banner that read, "Evin prison is welcoming its new students," in reference to the large number of university students held in the prison. Reformist leader Mir Hossein Moussaoui said that the arrests and the provocation of crises are proof of the government's failure and its inability to convince the nation to accept the election results.
Moussaoui
further said that the attacks on the high religious authorities and the closure of the office of the late leader Muntadhari are attempts by the government to cover up its failure, especially in light of the new resolution to impose additional sanctions on Iran.
قضية الاعتقالات وحوادث ما بعد انتخابات الرئاسة.
In a speech on the anniversary of the elections, Maulawi Abed Hamid, a senior Sunni cleric in the region of Sistan and Baluchistan, proposed a solution to end the post-election crisis. Abed Hamid called for the release of the detainees, justice for the victims and their families, and for holding free elections under the auspices of international observers. Najm Muhammad Ali, al-Arabiya.
بعد 38 عاما من أحداث الأحد الدامي.
38 years after the Bloody Sunday events, Britain has officially apologized to Northern Ireland for the killings of 14 Irish protesters by British soldiers. They were protesting for civil rights in Derry. The apology came after the British government published the results of a long investigation, acknowledging that the British soldiers were wrong and rejecting their justifications. Even after decades, this acknowledgement has revived hope in achieving justice, but at the same time it has raised concerns that tensions may re-emerge between Britain and Northern Ireland. Dr. Al-Umari reports from London.
Even after 38 years, the tension that was created by Northern Ireland's dark history did not dissipate. These images immortalized one of the bloodiest days in Northern Ireland. It is Bloody Sunday, which took place in 1972, following the release of the results of a long investigation, which was followed by an official British apology. The effects of this event can still be felt in London.
What happened on Bloody Sunday was both
What happened on Bloody Sunday was both unjustified and unjustifiable. Lord Saville said in his report that the British soldiers opened fire based on orders that should not have been given.
The report revived hope in that justice can be served, but also raised concerns that tension may re-emerge. It acknowledged that the 14 people who were killed on that day were innocent and said that the justifications given by the British soldiers were unconvincing.
The report found that none of the victims were carrying weapons that threatened the British soldiers.
This investigation, which cost £200 million, is the most expensive in British history. It is also the longest because it took 12 years to complete. In addition, it was the result of a political deal by former Prime Minister Tony Blair aimed at gaining the support of the Republicans in Northern Ireland for a peace agreement. However, political observers are concerned that peace will not prevail.
If leaked news reports turn out to be true, in that this report will not call for trying the British soldiers, it will give the real Irish army a tangible reason to resume armed operations against British forces and its bases in Northern Ireland and Britain.
Bloody Sunday was painful at the time and was a turning point in the history of Ireland and Britain. This event can potentially revive the emotions of the victims' families who have been waiting for justice for more than 38 years. Dr. Al-Umari, Dubai Television, London.
The Israeli Knesset has postponed the discussion over the easing of the siege on Gaza after it concluded today's meetings without reaching a decision. Our correspondent in Jerusalem, Ahmed al-Buderi, has more details.
This meeting aims to discuss a proposal submitted by Quartet envoy Tony Blair and involves three main issues. The first issue is putting an end to what is described as the complete siege on the Gaza Strip and allowing the entry of all goods, with the exception of specified goods such as cement, metal, and steel. These forbidden goods can only be provided to the United Nations to rebuild the organization's buildings. This brings us to the second issue, which proposed providing construction material only to the United Nations. The third issue is a central one and revolves around the means to reorganize the border crossing points. Right now, the Israeli side is holding a discussion over Tony Blair's idea of having observers from the European Union and from the Palestinian Central Authority stationed at Gaza's crossing points. Perhaps the Rafah border crossing, maybe the Kerem Shalom crossing, and others will be changed. However, the main question is, why now? What has happened to Israel? The siege has been going on for 4 years and was imposed in the name of Gilad Shalit. Gilad Shalit is still on the Gaza Strip, but it is clear that the snowball effect started with the attack on the Marmara ship, and international pressure has pushed Israel to hold an internal inquiry. Until now, the United States has approved it.
From its side, Hamas diminished the importance of Israel's attempt to ease the siege, describing it as an attempt to spin the siege in a positive light. This is according to Hamas commander Sami Abu Zuhri.
Until now, nothing tangible has been achieved. The Israeli occupation is discussing adding the number of goods that can enter Gaza, but in reality, this has no relation to ending the siege imposed on Gaza. First of all, we are talking about more than 4,000 types of forbidden items, whereas they are talking about hundreds or even just 100 that will soon be allowed to enter Gaza. Most of them hold no value for us in Gaza. In addition, the siege is not only related to goods. The siege is about the movement of people and the movement of money. For this reason, the different shapes that this siege takes must also be broken, and we unequivocally consider the Israeli intent to add a number of goods to enter to be an attempt to spin the siege in a positive light.
The Army has released a short film on the IDF raid aboard the Turkish ship as it attempted to breach the naval blockade of Gaza on May 31st. The film, titled Maritime Martyrs, The Truth About the Mavi Marmara, is meant to relay the military's account of events aboard that vessel that resulted in the deaths of 9 mercenaries and severe injury by stabbing and clubbing of 6 IDF commandos. Here's a portion of the film.
At the end of May, the Free Gaza organization and the fundamentalist Islamic IHH movement launched a flotilla of ships to the port of Gaza under the pretext of humanitarian aid. However, its real objective was to create a provocation on the high seas, to confront the State of Israel and its army, and to violate the naval blockade of the Gaza Strip.
نحن جئنا لنكسر الحصار أولاً ثم لنقدم الإغاثات المختلفة. أولاً كسر الحصار.
Like when I went first convoy, I wanted to be a shaheed. I wasn't that lucky. Third time lucky, inshallah, I'll be shaheed.
Gaza has been under naval and land closure since the Hamas takeover of the Gaza Strip in order to prevent the trafficking of weapons and other material employed by the Hamas to manufacture rockets and missiles to be used against Israel. However, throughout this time, Israel has continued daily deliveries of food and medicines to Gaza. On average, 100 delivery trucks make their way from Israel to the Gaza Strip every day. During the past 2 months, Israel has delivered to the Gaza Strip over 1,200 tons of medicines, 155 tons of food, 2,900 tons of clothing and footwear, and nearly 17 million litres of diesel fuel. These facts contradict the false claim that Gaza Strip residents are experiencing a humanitarian crisis. The transfer of goods from Israel to the Gaza Strip is ongoing, despite the many attempts by Hamas to stop them through a string of terror attacks at the Israel-Gaza border. Acting on a decision by Israel's political leadership, its army and navy prepared to prevent the flotilla from reaching Gaza, while offering its organizers and passengers the opportunity to either turn back or to dock at the Israeli port of Ashdod, where the cargo would be unloaded, undergo security inspection, and be transferred to Gaza. The commander of Israel's navy, Vice Admiral Eliezer Marom, instructed his forces to take all necessary steps to safeguard the lives of civilians and soldiers alike.
וביחד עם זאת יש לנו משימה מאוד מאוד ברורה לבצע.
Okay, what is your next port?
My next port, Gaza.
Mavi Marmara, you are approaching an area of hostilities, which is under a naval blockade. The Israeli government supports delivery of humanitarian supplies to the civilian population in the Gaza Strip and invites you to enter the Ashdod port, after which you can return to your home ports aboard the vessels on which you arrived.
Yo, shut the fuck up. Go back to Auschwitz. Was helping Arabs going against the U.S. Don't forget 9/11, guys.
After all calls to halt the flotilla were rejected, naval troops acted to take control of the 6 vessels attempting to break the naval blockade. 5 of the 6 boats were apprehended with only passive resistance from the activists on board. However, the Turkish ship Mavi Marmara, carrying 561 demonstrators, including dozens of terrorists and mercenaries from Turkey and other Muslim countries, the troops encountered extreme violence from well-organized and armed radical activists.
כל אדם שירד, לקחו אותו 3-4 אנשים ופשוט פוצצו אותו במכות, עשו עליהם לינץ'. כולם שם היו עם עלות מתכת, סכינים, בשלב גם היה ירי חי, ירו עלינו כדורים, כאילו נשק אמיתי. התחילו להרביץ לי עם העלות מתכת, נעשה כך שרדתי את היד כנראה.
איפה הכלים שלנו? סליל, אין פה, אתה רואה אותה?
The Hamas organization in Lebanon honored a number of Freedom Flotilla participants. The organization affirmed its great appreciation for the participants, especially the Lebanese, who insist on breaking the siege, even if they are aware of the traps set for them by the occupation.
These are not soccer players or fans of the World Cup Championship. They're the world's elites. They are the martyrs of the Freedom Flotilla whose blood was spilled on the way to Palestine and Gaza. The Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, held a ceremony to honor the Turkish martyrs and the heroes who returned from the Freedom Flotilla, including journalists Abbas Nasser, Nabil Halak, Hussein Shukar, and others. Representatives of Lebanese and Palestinian parties spoke during the ceremony. During the ceremony, Ali Baraka from Hamas's political office in Lebanon talked about the current critical issue.
We announce our solidarity with the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is facing sanctions by the U.S., and we strongly denounce the wrong international resolution. The United States wants to save the enemy government. By uncovering the crimes committed by the occupation, these ships have caused an important turning point. Therefore, we are warning those who respond to the U.S. initiative, which calls for isolating the so-called extremists in Gaza, as referred to by Obama in his reference to the Hamas organization and the resistance.
The discussion over the Freedom Flotilla continued today and centered on the second Freedom Flotilla. The International Committee to Support Palestine and Break the Siege on Gaza has made a significant step in finding ways to break the siege on Gaza and has inspired more action.
The attendants here reject the calls to ease the siege, which will only prolong it. The committee and the organizations that cooperate with us have started organizing a number of convoys by land and by sea, as well as by air, in order to break the siege, soon, God willing. The attendants call on jurists and legal institutions to pursue those who committed crimes on the Freedom Flotilla.
The upcoming period of time in between the first and second Freedom Flotillas provides a new horizon, which opens a door to 2 fronts that will lead to a certain end to the siege, and silence is no longer possible. Omar Sheikh, al-Aqsa TV, Beirut.
Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh met with the delegation from the Greek Teachers Union. The delegation is comprised of 11 members of left-wing parties and other political groups. During the meeting, the two sides discussed the effects of the Zionist siege on the Gaza Strip and on education in the Strip. In solidarity with the Palestinians and in order to break the siege, the Greek delegation entered Gaza yesterday through the Rafah border crossing.
France 24 has obtained exclusive images of al-Qaeda members in the Islamic Maghreb. These images provide some insight into the life of the terrorist organization in the Sahara Desert. The date the images were captured and the exact location are unknown. However, they were most likely taken in the Al-Sahel region, which extends from Mauritania to Mali and includes southern Algeria. The following report sheds light on the life of some al-Qaeda members, as the footage shows them training and talking to each other.
Relaxing, resting, reading the Quran, and listening to the radio. These are some of the activities that these men were engaging in when these rare images were taken and later obtained by France 24. It is believed that they are members of al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. The images were taken by some members of the group and were supposed to remain private. The date these images were captured and the exact location in which the group was staying remain unknown. These images were most likely taken in the Al-Sahel region, which stretches from Mauritania to Mali and includes southern Algeria. These rare images shed some light on the life of this armed group in the desert. We can recognize dialects from Algeria, Mauritania, and Morocco. Others are speaking dialects that can be found in border areas between Tunisia and Libya. This means that all the members are from the Arab Maghreb. They are now going to the top of this hill because one of them is trying to use a Thuraya brand cellular phone. They live like Bedouins and don't need to hide. They feel safe because the desert is tremendously large, which makes it hard to find them. We can identify some of the group leaders who happen to be Algerian. This person is called Mukhtar Belmukhtar, and his nickname is Al-Awar, or the One-Eyed Man. He was identified by one of the men who led the negotiations to release some of the hostages. Mukhtar is still holding hostage 2 individuals from a Spanish humanitarian organization. This man in the black sunglasses who is watching the training is Musa. His nickname is Al-Mukhtara, or the inventor. He lost an eye and an arm in an explosion. This man wearing the yellow amama or turban and refusing to have his picture taken is believed to be Abu Zaid, an al-Qaeda radical leader in the Islamic Maghreb. He is an Algerian national and was responsible for the kidnapping of the French national Pierre Kamat.
Head of Atomic Energy Organization of Iran speaks of Tehran planning to build several more nuclear medical reactors across the country. Dr. Ali Akbar Salehi says Iran plans to export medical radioisotopes to regional and Islamic countries. He said Iran is drawing up the blueprints for a nuclear medicine reactor, which is more powerful than the existing one in Tehran. Salehi also referred to Western countries' dual policy of pressure and dialogue towards Iran's nuclear program. He said such an approach will draw a similar response from Tehran. Meanwhile, Deputy of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Bagheri, says Tehran is now seeking to stabilize its nuclear achievements in the international arena. Now to Afghanistan, where a bomb explosion has killed 2 more NATO soldiers in the southern part of the country. Now, the nationalities of the dead soldiers have not as yet been released. 226 NATO soldiers have been killed in Afghanistan so far this year. Last week was the bloodiest for NATO forces there, with 30 soldiers being killed. A total of 130,000 foreign troops are based in the war-torn country. Earlier, we spoke to our correspondent, Fayez Khorshid, for more on the situation on the ground.
But when I talked to the U.S. spokesperson here in Kabul, who is in NATO headquarters now, he said he denied to give us further details about this incident, and he says that they expect more such deaths because the Taliban continue to increase their attacks against the U.S. forces in Helmand province. Many here in Afghanistan, especially here in Kabul, if you talk to them, they're deeply concerned and they're angry over what the U.S. is doing in Afghanistan. The U.S. officials here in Kabul say that they are here in Afghanistan to defeat the Taliban militants and bring peace and stability to this country. But the Afghan people don't agree on this. They say their military operations in southern Afghanistan, in eastern parts of this country, have already worsened the security situation in Afghanistan. And now, as the U.S. forces are going to launch another massive operation in Kandahar province, southern Afghanistan, people here say that it will cause more civilian deaths and it will make Taliban militants increase their attacks in other parts of Afghanistan. So the security situation is worsening day by day in this country.
Dozens of people have gathered outside the French embassy in the Syrian capital of Damascus. They are outraged at a French-based satellite provider that has put Al-Aqsa TV off the air. Workers at the Hamas TV channel's office in Syria staged a sit-in to protest the move. Now, the French-owned Eutelsat says it can no longer broadcast the channel. Al-Aqsa TV, which airs programs from Gaza, gives a behind-the-scene look at how the Israeli blockade has made life hard for Palestinians. Hamas has denounced the move as a flagrant violation of freedom of opinion and information.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online, stay up to date with breaking news, read our blog, get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs, programs which connect you to the world.